In this lecture, we're going to show how we can detect collision between parts in assembly. So we have here this assembly. And now we try to rotate this part here. We can see that this part can go through all of those parts here. And this is not what will happen in reality. In reality, when this part will rotate, it would hit this part here and then it would stop here. So this is what we want to simulate. To do that, we have to use collision detection. So let's go here to the Move Component tool. Let's click here. And here we have some options. We have standard drag and here we have collision detection. So let's check this collision detection. And now we see that our cursor changed. And now if we try to move this part down here like this, you can hear the sound. And you can see that those two parts that are in collision are now blue. If we go here to the right side, now those two parts collide and they're in the blue. So each time two parts collide, you can hear the sound and you can see that those two parts became blue. But this is also not what we expected. We wanted our parts, when they collide, stop at collision. To do that, we have to here check stop at collision. So let's check this. And now let's try to move this part. And now we can hear the sound. And if we try to drag this part through this part here, is not possible because this part stops each time it hits other part, to this side or to this side. With this part as well, we can go left, right. At collision, it stops like this. So now let's look here. Here we have check between. By default, we have between all components of the assembly. We can also go here and check these components. And now we can designate between which components we want to check collision. So for example, we want to check collision between this component and this component here. And now just click resume drag. And now if we drag this part here, for example, to the left side, we have a collision. If we go down, we have a collision because this is the same part. But now if you drag this part here to the right, we can see that between those two parts, there's no collision. Because here we didn't define check collision between those two parts. Now if we go here, click here and select this part. Let's go with resume drag. Now if we move this part to the right, you can see there is collision. As well, we can go here to the part 2, right click and delete. Now let's go with resume drag. Now if we move this part, we see there is no collision between those two parts. If we go to the right, there is collision. So you can check collision between all components or between some selected components. Now let's go between all components again. So here we have stop at collision. Now let's uncheck this. Now let's move our part, this one, here like this. And now those two parts are overlapping. Now let's go here, stop at collision. And now let's try to move this part here. And you see this is not possible because it says the motor start in a colliding position. Stop on collision has been disabled. Okay, and now automatically stop at collision is unchecked. And now you can remove this part and now you can check the collision. So if your parts are already in collision and you wanna use stop at collision, this is not possible. So you wanna make sure each time you wanna check stop at collision that there are no parts that are already in collision. So again, if we go stop at collision, now if we move this part, it stops at collision. As well, if we move this part, it stops at collision. Now if you click OK, everything is back to normal and you can move your part as before. So this is how you can turn on and off collision between parts in assembly.